All right, everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to do a frequency table. And this is often known as a tabulation, and it's fairly simple. It's just going to be one of the ways that you can see what is going on with your variables, how they're structured, how many respondents or observations you have for that variable, and the way that the respondents or the observations are distributed across the values. So let's go ahead and take a look at our variable view. And we're going to go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and Frequencies. We'll click on that. Now here, as with most of the dialog windows, when you have a list of variables here on the left side, you can always right-click and pick different ways of displaying them. So sometimes you want to do alphabetically. Sometimes you want to do the order, the file order, the order in which they come in the data set. Sometimes you want to display the variable labels or the variable names. Now, variable names, those can be tricky to use because sometimes you get variable names like this, right? You get this kind of vague, not kind of vague, very vague CC20 430 B2. You have no idea what that variable is doing. Now you can of course go back to your variable view and take a look at the label, right, in this label column, or we can just go ahead, right click and display the actual labels of the variables. And then now we know what's going on. See, notice in brackets, you have the variable name still on the right, but then you have the label, which gives you a bit more detail about what's going on in that variable. So let's go ahead. For this exercise, we're going to go to alphabetical, and we're going to work with two items. We're going to work with this abortion item here. And let's choose always allow women to obtain an abortion as a matter of choice. We're going to use that one. We're going to move it over. There's two ways to move it over. You can just either drag it into that box, or you can just select it and click that arrow, bring it over to the right. All right, so that's it. That's all we got to do for a frequency table. You just go ahead and click OK. And there we go. We can see that there are two values in this variable. There's support and oppose. This is how many of the respondents, how many of the people in this survey actually support always allowing a woman to obtain an abortion as a matter of choice. This here is opposing. And then we also get this in percentage, right? So 61% of the sample supports, 38% opposes. This cumulative percent, it isn't really useful in these cases where we only have two values, but it just adds on the percentage from each value. So if we had multiple values, as we'll see in a second, we'll have that cumulative percent add up. Let's run one more tab. All right, one more tabulation, one more frequency table. For this one, we're going to do education. So let's run over here. We're going to go to the ease, education, right there. We're going to drag that over. Notice I had to drag the abortion variable back over. Anything in this box will be run, and you can do two at a time. So let's actually go ahead and do both of these, the same abortion one. Right, you can do as many at a time as you want. You could do you can have 10 variables here in this variable field. Okay, so we got our two variables, education, abortion. We'll click OK. Just wait for it to run real quick. And there you go. You have your education table. Notice here the cumulative percent. So only 3.3% of the sample has not graduated high school, right? And then 27.2% graduated high school. So 3.3 plus 27.2 gives you your 30.5. Now 30.5 plus 21.9, the sum college gives you your 52.2. Okay, so that's all that is. So you get your frequency, your percent, and your cumulative percent. And then again, here you have your abortion. Now, this is really good. The frequency table is good to see generally the value structure, and then also to make sure you have enough observations in each value for the variables. The other thing we need to take note of when we're getting to know our variables is the actual numbers, the actual values that are assigned to each one of these values over here. Okay. The easiest way to do that, notice our labels don't have any of those numbers. The easiest way to do that is to go back to our variable view. We're going to find here, we're going to highlight label, we're going to find okay, so here we found always allow, this is our variable, always allow women to obtain an abortion as a matter of choice. Notice right next door, there's the value column. We're going to click on that and notice these 3 dots come up. We click on the 3 dots and that shows us what numbers are actually assigned to each value, right? So 1 represents support, 2 represents oppose, and then 8 and 9 are the people who didn't answer that question, okay? And that's it. That's how we use tabulation or frequency table. And this is another way to look at the value labels and know exactly what numbers correspond to which of the options in the question.